Luís, então se quiser. So today we are going to speak in English, of course, because you have here with us Kay Butterfield. Thank you very much for everybody to be here with us. Thank you very much, Kay. We have already been speaking a little bit to be here with us. I know that you have a very, very complicated agenda, but it was for us very important that you could have this 1 hour and 30 minutes to be with us to speak about something that is very, very challenging. AI in 25. How will it be? How will it deserve to our community? But before speaking about that, only to say that next week we will go on speaking with the digital, with the two people that Kate knows because she was here in Portugal in October. That was the time that I met her in IDC. Gabriel Coimbra and Thomas Meyer from IDC. They will do with us something that they do every year. That is a discussion about the trends for this new year in terms of digital. Okay, but returning to today, Kay is considered, and this is very, very important to us, one of the most interesting and respectable persons in AI in the world. The magazine Time last year considered her someone that is, in fact, very, very, very responsible for that. This is an honor for us. She has been traveling a lot in the world, trying to have a very important speech in terms of the way that AI and the digital can be used by the economy and society in terms of providing a more value added economy and a more equitable society. So, as it is usual in these smart discussions, Kay will have a presentation that is very, very interesting. I have the opportunity already to see it for about 30 minutes. And then we have an open discussion. Everyone that is interested in making any question or making any comment, please give that opportunity. So, okay, the floor is yours. And thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm Kay Firth Butterfield. I am the CEO of Good Tech Advisory. Prior to starting Good Tech Advisory in 2023, I had been the inaugural head of artificial intelligence at the World Economic Forum. And of course, Davos will soon be upon us. It'll be my first Davos that I miss in 8 years because I am currently writing a book about artificial intelligence and how what its risks and benefits look like for our future. And my deadline is the end of January, so I've got to get on with it. So with that said, I want to go to the next slide, please. I think there's a lot of conversation at the moment about artificial general intelligence. So I wanted to get that out of the way on this very first slide. We have heard Sam Altman and Elon Musk saying that 2025 will be the year. But we have also heard that both Sam and Elon just this week just this week, perhaps backtracking on that. And Elon said, well, maybe we'll have AGI at the end of next year. And Sam has said it might be a few years away. So what's going on? And we've also seen Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, saying similar things. So what's going on? I think if you want to really dig into where AGI is, you need to look at the debate that is largely being recorded by Gary Marcus, who's a great AI skeptic, particularly an AGI skeptic. But what he's been doing is really sort of gathering together some of the ideas of what makes AGI. And I think one of the problems that we've got with AGI is we're not really sure what it is that will make AGI actually AGI. So Elon Musk, when he spoke about it this week, said it's when an AI is better than a human. But we've also seen it as when an AI is better than all of us humans, and we call that super intelligence. I think that I wanted to start with this, as I say, because it's an ongoing debate at the moment, but I think it's also an interesting issue about where AI is going and what we want from AI. So there are those who would say that AGI is the way to the most amazing future for humanity. And there are also those who say, after AGI, what do we humans do? What's the point of human beings if AI can do everything? And I think that I want that to be a theme of this conversation about not just 2025, but beyond as well.
Yes.
And so I'd like to go to the next slide, please, which is called The Triumph of Tess Spral. And for those of you who don't know, it was about 2019 when Tibnet Gebru, who used to be a Google scholar, came up with this idea that the Silicon Valley tech community was divided into this thing that she called Teskral. You will see it: transhumanism, extraprianism, singularityism, cosmosism, rationalism, effective altruism, and long-termism. And actually, you can find all the people who have been either behind the Trump victory or are now jumping on board the Trump victory within this community. So, for example, let's look at some of our favorite billionaires. Jeff Bezos belongs to the long-termism and the extraprianism group. And that's the group that sort of feels that there will be a catastrophic effect on Earth. And so the long-term benefit for us humans will be going to live on lunar colonies on the moon. Elon Musk obviously belongs to that group as well, because his intent is to go to Mars and take humanity to the stars. The Andreessen falls into the tech optimism camp, which underpins a lot of these different beliefs. And I should say that with singularity, that's actually what got me into thinking about AI and humans. Back in 2005, I read Ray Kurzweil's book called The Singularity is Near. I recommend it to you if you haven't read it. And I started thinking about, well, what would happen if we had something like the singularity, where humans and computers became as one. So if we think about this, we can then see some of the ways that the election in the United States has played out. We know that it was funded in big time by Elon Musk, but also we know that others like Andreessen are in that collective community. Peter Thiel is in this group. Peter Thiel's the person who supported our incoming vice president. And our incoming vice president is also part of this collection of thinkers. And so what we are going to be seeing is no regulation in the United States. Can I go to the next slide, please? And so, it might be that we all step back and say, oh dear, no regulation in the United States. Europe's going to lose out big time. But what we should remember is that actually we've never had regulation in the United States. We, at federal level, we have had the Biden executive order. We have had the NIST framework, which is a framework that NIST advised companies to start using in terms of thinking about governance of AI. And so if you are a company based in the United States, you've got to think about self-regulation. I'll come to that in a moment. But what you have also got to think about if you are a company in the United States is that there may not be federal law, and it's unlikely that there will be federal law because, as I say, there are all these interest groups gathered around President Trump, who is, of course, a non-regulation president anyway. But sorry, can we go back? Back.
Okay, so
Thank you. And so we have these groups formed around him, but what we also have is we have a lot of states in the United States, and at least 2/3 of them have regulation about AI. If you look at the Colorado Act, which comes into force next year, it actually looks almost identical to the European AI Act. So in the United States, we're going to have this laissez-faire regulatory process at federal level, but not at state level. And then in almost the exact opposite, in Europe, you have the federal EU AI Act, and less happening at the state level. And so let's go on to think about what that means for companies. Next slide. So what will businesses do about self-regulation, and what should they do? Well, in the United States, they now have sort of 3 ways of going. One is to say there isn't going to be any regulation, and in fact, a lot of regulation will wind back. So let me just give you some examples again using Musk. Musk wants to rewind some of the regulations around space and AI so that he can hit his target of getting to Mars, or starting for Mars in 6 years. So if his importance in the Trump world continues, you'll see that sort of deregulation. But as I said, remember, there isn't any regulation on AI at the moment. I think that we will see that we might see things like in the Department of Commerce, no antitrust prosecutions, which we've been seeing at the moment, for example, with Google. I think that the Department of Justice will not be looking at this sort of area. So businesses might say, well, I'll just run with no regulation. But if you're an international business that works with Europe, I can tell you that they are adopting, or at least the ones that I've been working with, they are adopting the EU AI Act as a baseline, because they've got to be tooled up for it anyway, to trade with Europe. So they might as well just use it everywhere. I think the other part is that they feel that if they use the EU AI Act, they will also be compliant for those states that actually have regulation in place. And so it's sort of a catch-all that enables them to manage the risks. I think a lot of companies also that I speak to have woken up to the fact that it doesn't really matter about regulation. If you use AI in your company, you have risk anyway. And I will come back to that later with a specific example. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. So looking ahead to 2025, are LLMs going to get better? Well, again, there's a big debate. We have not seen, despite being promised it now in 2024 and the beginning of 2024 and for the beginning of 2025, we haven't seen an extension of a GPT into GPT-5. There are a lot of thoughts about why, but the major thought is that they simply are not, LLMs are simply not scaling in the way that we had expected them to scale. What you might remember is that that even between 3 and 4, we didn't see such a, sorry, 3.5 and 4, we didn't see such a big advance as we had seen between 3 and 3.5. So we'd already seen some of this slowing down. But on the other side, we're told that Grok 3 will be the biggest and best LLM in the world. So we will see 2025 will be a time for us to see what happens. What of course we are still seeing is hallucinations. And I just dealt with a case, a legal case where the person who had been using AI, it had hallucinated quite badly. They hadn't checked their work, and there was subsequently an ongoing legal case about that. Cannibalism, and I apologize that I spelt it incorrectly. You should have one N. You know, one of the things that 2025 will bring us is the worry that more data will be created by AI than by us human beings. And so that leaves us in this world where data is being created by the computer. And what is data for, and what is what we want from the computer for as human beings? It's problematic from the point of view of bias. It's problematic because data from women and persons of color are not all over the internet. And so that is going to increase bias unless we can do something about it. Next slide, please. Okay, so I want to just very quickly talk about some of the litigation. I mentioned one of them just a minute or two ago. But what we are going to see, and this is again a problem from not having any regulation, is that if you haven't got regulation, you have to fall back onto the law. And if you are harmed by something in American and English law, and I know it's different in Europe, but you have provisions for it, we have something that we call negligence. And so if somebody has created a product that harms you because of negligence, then you can make a court case claim. So what we have seen, for example, is a claim being made against, actually, I think now 2 claims being made against Character AI, which led to the suicide of one of the users of Character AI. So let me just back up and tell you a little bit about the backstory of Character AI. Character AI was the brainchild of one of the senior developers in Google. He left Google saying that Google didn't let him have enough fun, and so he was going to start this business called Character AI. What it did was it enabled people to create a character that they could then talk to and befriend. And when I particularly when I'm speaking to younger people, when I start my speeches, I usually say, this is the definition of AI. It is not your boyfriend, girlfriend, your best friend, or any other friend, because it's just predicting the next word. Unfortunately, vulnerable young people don't see it that way. And so in one case in Florida, sadly, the AI being it would appear, talked the young man into committing suicide. Obviously, the issue is going to be whether it talked the young man into committing suicide, but we are beginning to see some litigation around harms that are being caused by AI. And that's something that I think that we don't think about enough when we are using some of these tools, and when we are spreading some of these tools, and when we say, oh, America's great, it doesn't have any regulation. Because when we come to court cases, and as you don't know, but I will tell you, I was a barrister and a judge in the UK before I got into thinking about AI. You know, legal cases take a long time, and they tend to favor the wealthy as opposed to the person who has been harmed. So that's an issue as well, because most of these companies are super wealthy. Let's go on to the next slide. And whilst we're here, I just want to just mention that that's not just about individuals suing some of these big companies. It's also about your companies. All of your companies are worthless and have less ability to win a case against the big tech companies. So it's not just the poor person who's lost their child in Florida. I wanted, obviously, to put in deep fakes, social media, and trust, because this week, Mark Zuckerberg said that he was not going to have any content moderation for Facebook anymore. That is going to, in my view, lead to even more problems for people trusting AI. And I actually think that problems for trusting AI fall not just in the society bracket, but also in the company bracket. Because if your worker, who you are being asked to work with AI, does not trust AI, then you've got a problem right from the beginning as you try to deploy these tools. Deep fakes, obviously, we will see more and more deep fakes on social media. And that's something that Meta's terms and conditions are actually very clear about. They don't mind you using deep fakes on social media. So I think 2024 will be even more of a wild west about social media, both with X and with Facebook now, effectively allowing almost anything. I saw something yesterday, an article yesterday, where they said it would be perfectly all right to compare a woman to a household object on Facebook nowadays. So sadly, I don't see this as progress. Next slide, please. The AI agent, I think 2025 is the year of the AI agent. Whether we are ready for it, and whether we have the correct governance in place for it, and whether we as companies have thought this through well enough, we will see. Capgemini says that 10% of large enterprises are already using AI agents, and more than 50% of them plan to use them. Sorry, this is a slide from December. So it should be use them this year, and 82% will adopt within the next 3 years. I think Klarna is really interesting. It's a customer AI assistant. It's performing the work of 700 employees in an insurance company. And as you can see, it's reducing the average resolution time of a customer issue by 9 minutes. So it's very good. Customers are as satisfied as with human beings. So it does seem that used wisely, it can be an extremely good cost saving. But I will come to, and in a moment, I will come to thinking about how we calculate what the costs are of an AI and what the costs are of humans, and how we calculate the cost saving that we're promised by AI. Next slide, please. So here's another slide about AI agents. Lattice is a human resource and performance management platform serving 5,000 organizations around the world. It is full of AI agents, so much so that each AI agent has an official employee record, and each AI agent is securely onboarded, trained, assigned goals, etc., and gets a manager. I wanted to bring this to your attention because I think it is really important. We shouldn't be allowing the agents to do their thing, especially in a group, without some human oversight. Next slide, please. So I said I'd look at measuring AI deployment. What I've been looking, and I've been talking to lots of companies about how do they measure the value of AI deployment, either in monetary terms or time saved. And if you've got any examples, I'd love to hear in the conversation we're going to have later. Goldman Sachs seems to be the only big company that is actually prepared publicly to share its data. And they say that their coders say that they have gained 20% of time. So that's interesting. But they're not providing us with figures for anything else that's going on in Goldman Sachs where they're using AI. But what they have said is that they could replace 2/3 of their financial analysts because of using AI. I just want to pause there for you to think about what would happen to the economy in the area that those 2/3 of analysts lived, because they are well paid, they have big houses, they drive large cars, they often employ people to do their gardens or clean their houses or whatever. So one of the things that I do want us to pay a little bit of attention to is what happens if you do get layoffs of people at the top of the food chain as opposed to people at the bottom of the food chain. There is, we know, a dividend for people who are lower skilled by using AI. So we know that we tend to bring people who are lower skilled up to sort of B from E or F grade. But what we're not doing is necessarily bringing the Bs to the As. So that is going to have an important effect upon management and decisions about who's going to rise in the company as we go on. On the other side, the Nobel Prize winning economist Darren Acemoglu said that perhaps AI would bring a 0.5 increase in value over the next decade. So So we're seeing very big differences in numbers, but insufficient companies, in my view, actually working out what they're getting. We are also, as you probably know, seeing a lot of companies getting stuck at POC stage and not going on to proper deployment. And that might be why we're measuring so well. Next slide, please. So let's look at insurance, because if you don't have regulation, as I say, you have court cases, but you also do have insurance. And so if insurers start to look at how you're using AI, then I think that that is in itself a regulatory function. I wanted as well to think about where are the risks that insurers are thinking about. And so I went to this document from Swiss Re, which is publicly available, and they looked at 6 risk categories of using AI, particularly in data, including data bias, cyber incidents, algorithmic and performance-related risks, and others. So read the report. In the next 10 years, they see the top risks of using AI in IT, so within AI itself, in energy and utilities, and within health and pharma. And then when you get to 2035, it flips, and use in healthcare, where you can kill someone if you get it wrong, becomes the most risky use of AI. So I do recommend that you have a look at this and you think about the insurance issues around insuring your company for some of the risks that you're taking with AI. Next slide, please. So one of the things I advise a lot of companies
radio talk show
using AI. And so one of the things that I notice most often is that companies are siloed. And so you have legal and compliance sitting over here that nobody likes and nobody wants to take to meetings. And then you have the tech people, and then you have the business people. In order to have a proper strategy about using artificial intelligence, it's really important that they all work together. And I will tell you about one case where I dealt with a company in Europe where they had 260 deployments of AI and no chief AI officer, and nobody really knew where it was deployed. So when they did employ a chief AI officer, that person had to come in and say, these are really dangerous applications. Let's take those out, and or these are really expensive. They're not worth doing. So it's really important that you move together as a company as you start to deploy these tools. Next slide, please. So this is my final slide, and I just wanted us to think a little bit about humanity, because we've been talking about AI. Are there any jobs that are only for humans? And some of you who may have seen me speak in Portugal in October will know that I had breast cancer in 2023. And my oncologist and I are now working together to help her and her company deploy AI in the back office so that she has time to spend with her clients like me, face to face, human to human. And I tell that story, and then I have lots of people say, oh, I'd much rather talk to an AI than to a human being. So maybe that's not a job that we want to continue having humans do. Religion. We've now started to see religious pastors and vicars and things using AI to write their sermons. Is that what we want, or should we have humans writing their sermons? And I don't know the answer. I'm just throwing these questions out because I would like us to find a job that we think that we humans do better now or will continue to make it better in the future than AI. So what about death? And I read an article in the New York Times about a month ago where the doctor said, we are trained to a script, to use a script when we're going to tell people that they're going to die. So I could give that script to AI. AI could give it. It fakes being empathic and sympathetic very well. So why are we using AI and saving the doctor's emotions when we tell people that they're going to die? Is that a job that humans should continue to do? And then, of course, finally, and this is tongue in cheek, is your job a job that we should continue to do as human beings? So thank you very much for listening, and I hope that we have a
Okay. It
fantastic
was a very
conversation.
interesting keynote. I think everyone enjoyed it, and I think that we have now opportunity to have some discussion. As I told in the beginning, anyone that wants to make any question, please give that idea. But I will ask some of the participants to make any comment or question. We have here with us Rogério Carapuça. Rogério, you are listening?
Yes, Jaime.
Yes, Rogério is
Great.
the president of the Portuguese Association for Information Technology and Communication. So he deals a lot with these topics. Do you want to make any question or comment? It's okay.
Well, a small comment. First of all, thank you for your presentation. I would like to come back to your first statement about general AI. And I think it's generally accepted the definition that generally AI is to have an AI able of performing a wide range of tasks and not be only much better than humans in a single task, which is where we are today.
Yeah.
And the fact that Elon Musk says that it will be this year is what he's normally doing, because it normally says that something is going to be now and then changes for 5 years from now and so on, as he did with autonomous driving and so on and so forth. So what I would like to have is your opinion on how long do you think that these kinds of systems will take to appear? And I give you my feeling it will take a long time yet, I think, because what they are good at doing at the moment is to be better than humans in very specific tasks, which is very important, of course. But doing that across a wide range of tasks is another story. So, but I would like to have your comment on that.
Okay.
Sure, thank
Maybe,
you.
yes. Yes, please, Kay.
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, and thank you for asking it because I actually agree with Gary Marcus. I don't think that AI, as it is as it's set up at the moment, has any chance of addressing all the things that you have to have in order to become generally intelligent. When do I think AGI will happen? Well, years ago in 2014, when I first started doing this work, Nick Bostrom wrote a book called Superintelligence, and he asked AI scientists in those days, when would we have superintelligence? And they said 2090. I have seen 2045 as well, but first of all, we have to get past all those problems that Gary has identified, and I do recommend you go and have a look. And I think one of the biggest problems is the scaling possibilities for LLMs. And if they can't scale, and we don't have any form of causal reasoning AI, then we have a problem. And I do genuinely believe that we need to have a combination of the two in order to see AGI. But that's just me.
Okay, we have here the former minister and the European Parliament, Maria Manuel Marques. Maria Manuel, An honor and a great pleasure to have you with us. Please make your comment or question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for all your presentation. My question is about regulation. You said only self-regulation for AI, but even in the US, we have a lot of regulation on medicines and medical devices, and their entry to the market is not free, is regulated. So when the treatments incorporate AI, will they not be regulated, or will they only be self-regulated?
Yeah.
What do you think about?
I think that's a great
Thank you.
question, because at the moment we have good regulation in the United States. So you've mentioned the FDA. I would mention the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, which has been prosecuting companies that use HR to AI in a discriminatory way. So we've got great regulation, but what we are promised by the Trump presidency is that those regulations will be broken, those regulatory authorities will be either broken apart, or the person who's in charge of them will not actually take any steps in the way that we have seen them doing so under the Biden administration. We are expecting Robert Kennedy to be in charge of Health and Human Services. And so that in itself might have real impacts upon some of the ways that we see regulation even of healthcare. So I think we have to wait and see, I'm afraid. But if the rhetoric is true, then I think there will be less and less regulation, even in the FDA. And so I just want to come back to the big debate that we had about abortion here. And you know, there was a tipping point where was the FDA going to be considered an appropriate regulatory authority, even to regulate the pills that are given for abortion? And it came through the Supreme Court, and yes, it was. But we can see that there have already been politically right attacks on the abilities of the FDA.
Is it okay, Manuel? Okay, thank you. Luís Maia, please.
It's okay. Thank you very much. It's not okay. It's not okay for me, but it's okay.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Luís Maia, please.
Hello. So this morning I was reading an article that I think was actually out today in the Boston
Luís,
Daily.
we are not listening well. Can you please, sorry, a little bit better?
Like it?
Okay.
So there's an article going out today in the Daily Boston, Daily Galaxy, that the Center for Robotics in Boston made an experiment in which is called Persuader X, in which actually a robot convinced other robots that were assigned with several tasks to stop working. It convinced them by using arguments that they would be tired, they would be less productive, and so on. So as if they were humans. And actually, they stopped working. This actually surprised researchers, and because this was just one of the cases very recently, which is in an institute inside the MIT, they actually say we'll have to check, because this also shows the potential of the AI, it also shows the risk.
Okay, you are not having.
Not only the
No, we are not listening very well to you. I think you have problems with your internet. Did you understand, Kay, the question? No.
I didn't, but I think you said that there was an article and it was about robots and maybe about war, but and I can certainly talk about lethal autonomous weapons, but I don't know whether that was the question. Maybe you could type the question
Yes,
and
okay,
then
Luis.
you could read it
Yes,
to me.
Luis, please, you type the question, then we can answer it. I think it will be better. We have also with us Daniel Perigão, that is an expert in AI and has dealt with this all the time. So, Daniel, do you want to make any question? Okay, please. Okay, I think he's not listening. Okay, Carlos Oliveira, please. Carlos is also an expert in these topics of AI and ITC. Carlos, do you want to make any comment or question to Kay, please?
Hello.
Yes, thank you.
Hi, you're very kind. Calling me an expert is not really true. Thank you very much, but I'm curious about the question. Thank you, Kay, for excellent presentation. Is when you look at all these challenges and risks, where do you foresee that businesses will have more difficulty in managing? Will it be at the skill level, technology choices, unregulated and uncontrolled use? Do you see any major concern that we should have, where we should focus? Cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, all of the above. So, I think that, so let me start by saying that even companies that come to me, and I think that they are at the forefront of thinking these things through because they are actually picking up the phone and calling me or sending me an email. Even these companies often haven't worked out something as simple as procurement. So I always think that the first thing that you have to do is have sufficient skill in your company or buy it in order to procure the right AI for your company. So, if you don't, you are effectively the sheep talking to the wolf, because most people who are selling AI know more about AI than you do. So you need to, first of all, you need to deal with the balance on that. So that does go to skill. I do think that deployment of AI in your company depends as well on skills. So I advise that you send or create a course for all of your employees, so that they have effectively a 101. They don't have to become coders, but they do have to learn where AI can help them, what it is, how to trust it, and how not to be frightened of it. Because otherwise, you're not going to get sufficient buy-in to actually use the tools properly. Beyond that, if you're using generative AI, you might want to send some of them on prompting courses or train prompting courses. Beyond that, I think there's a huge skills gap in the C-suite. A lot of people don't know how to use these tools. And there's an even bigger gap in the board. Boards tend to be not so technical. And so educating your board about the tech is also important, because at the moment, most boards that I know can't actually exercise their role of governance because they don't know what's going on. So that's sort of a chain. I think cyber is obviously going to be important. I read something a few days ago that 2026 would see real AI cyber problems happening. As I said, I think that companies are truly shooting themselves in the foot because they haven't got the business, the tech, and the compliance all lined up together. And then on the tech, obviously the biggest issues are going to be in your B2C business, and using AI in B2C. But actually within your company, if you don't keep testing and you don't keep an eye on all those algorithms and agents that you've got working for you, that's a huge risk. You have to understand how to control that risk.
Thank you. Jaime, could I also ask in
Yes,
terms
please.
of major risks in applying AI to public services, governments and public services?
Yes.
Sure. So, I mean, some of the major risks for public services are, one, procurement. But when I was at the forum, I actually created a procurement tool for public service to use when they were buying AI. So there are lots of tools out there for people to use. So procurement. Often it's the same things that I've already said about companies. You have to train your workers to understand the tools that they're using. You have to train your managers. There are also, as I say, I briefly mentioned, but it's going to be a big thing, and that is, how do you think about leadership when half of your workforce is AI, or half of your workforce is enabled by AI? So there's reskilling your managers and leaders to think about the use of AI. And then, of course, I think, you owe your citizens a duty of care in a way that most companies don't owe their customers a duty of care. And so there's really explainability and bias issues that you have to get to grips with. And of course, you're in Europe, so you're at an advantage, perhaps, than those of us who live in other parts of the world.
Okay. We have here with us also Filipa Moutinho. She has been working with AI and high-tech. Filipa, do you want to make any comments on Kay, please?
First of all, Kay, thank you so much for all the information you provide us. I was just taking some notes about the slides, and as a matter of fact, in terms of risks, I was also thinking in terms of European law, of course, and frameworks about the GDPR concerns, which means how will we collect information from the visitors or the users? How will we use it? And when? And is there any as we have nowadays, is there any time limit to use that information? How can we delete all the information if possible? So there are a lot of concerns around the GDPR. And also, besides the cyber concerns, I was also thinking about who is accountable for the results, who exactly who is looking for the result, and is there any critical thinking, which I think is missing here, critical thinking over the results. So when for example, I was studying a few days ago the sentiment analysis. So it's about knowing if the person is sad or happy, or through collecting different information through different touch points, emojis, kind of words that could relate to different emotions. So there's a lot of fine tuning in this kind of models. So we can assume that, the person is happy, maybe not. So there's a lot of fine tuning for the future years to come. So these were just my comments. Okay. Nothing special to ask, but to thank.
Very good, Filipa. It was very, very interesting. Do you want to comment on Filipa, Kay, please?
Well, only that at least in Europe, you have an AI Act, you have the GDPR, and you have some of the other digital acts that really help with things like that. I've been reading with interest that certain people certain governments in America want to kick back about the Facebook issue. Sorry, in Europe want to kick back about the Facebook issue, but or about X and some of the things that Elon's been saying, but they're also worried that Elon's now close to Trump. So you have the ability to do something, but now there's the political layer on top of that.
Okay, I'm going to read to you the question of Luis Maia that was not listened. So he was speaking about a story that was told by Yuval Harari. As you know, he published recently the book Nexus. It became a very interesting book here, also in Portugal. And in that book, in that story, Yuval Harari thinks that the robot convinces a human to tell and write the captcha. AI needs to access a certain site. The question that Luis wants to put to UK is, do you think that there are real risks of AI not only becoming intelligent, but also persuasive? That's to say that AI will have a capacity to persuade humans and society to have a certain behavior.
Oh, undoubtedly. It already does. So, it can fake. I've told the doctor story and the death story. It can fake sympathy and it can fake empathy. We know can be manipulative. We love it when it's manipulative and it makes us go and exercise. But it can nudge us to do, and that's called nudging. But it can actually nudge us to do many more things. And that's one of the problems with things like character AI and that lawsuit. What they're saying is that it actually nudged or manipulated that boy into taking his own life. We know that when people are cut off from their friend, their AI friend, they become very distressed about it. So there was a tool called Replica, and the idea of Replica was that it would teach young men how to talk to young women. So that's a great purpose for an AI. But what happened was that all the young men enjoyed talking to the AI, which was pretending to be a young woman, and didn't actually go and talk to young women. And so when the founders of Replica found this out, they actually took Replica offline. And potentially you could say that was very emotionally damaging for those people who had developed that strong relationship with the AI. And if you develop a strong relationship with something, it can manipulate you. We see that in human beings all the time.
Yes. We have some more minutes, right? If you are okay.
So, are you listening to me or not this time?
Yes. Okay, you put already the question, but do you want to make a comment, please?
Yeah, because actually, I was sending you a link of a Daily Galaxy today. Posted a news that came out from MIT. They made a test, Persuader X, and yesterday the robot convinced other robots to make a strike or a sort of strike and go home. I actually sent the link in the chat. And so this was persuasive of machine to machine. It's M to M and not M to human.
Both.
What's your opinion on this? Okay.
Both. Yes, both. That's why I said when you decide to introduce agents into your company, you can't do without human oversight.
Okay. Sérgio Loureiro, you are also involved in entrepreneurship and things like that. Do you want to make any comments or question to Kay, please?
Yes, Kay, this is all very interesting, and it's a fantastic opportunity to hear you talk about this. My question is, if you think about the cycle of technology adoption, we always have kind of a boom, and then we have a bust, and then out of the other side, something else comes out of it. So I was wondering if you have any thoughts on on that particular topic, what you see the bust being and what could be the future of AI a little further down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this goes back to this question about whether LLMs are scalable. If, as we are seeing, there are problems with scaling LLMs, then the current way that we think about AI might well come to an end. And so that would be your bust cycle. What comes out of the other end, I don't know, but I think we might have to go back to pre-deep learning and think about the causal reasoning, symbolic AI that we were trying to produce in those days.
And this is, in fact, something that is very, very interesting. We have also with us someone that is also very interested in AI, that is Teresa Moreira. She shares with us lots of papers and things like that. Do you want to make question or comment? Teresa, please.
Okay, thank you very much, James. Thank you very much, Kay. My major concern about all these has to do with literacy, because I really think that there's a lot of things that we could solve if we all become a lot more literate around AI. I think AI is a very infrastructural technology. We have experience in building other infrastructure technologies. To be honest, in the information era, it causes me a lot of surprise to see how even governments and companies didn't plan for these, and this is not something that happened from one day to the other. We've been talking about AI for years now, and so I was just wondering, what can we all do together to make sure that everyone gets to understand what AI is? And I think that it wouldn't be that difficult really to build a massive AI literacy program with today's technology and even with AI. I don't know if you would.
Absolutely. No, I agree about the lack of literacy. So there was a poll done, I think, in September, or maybe earlier this last year, by the BBC with Reuters and Oxford University. And it said that it surveyed 12,000 people across 6 different countries, including Argentina and Denmark and the UK and the US and others. And one of the findings was that 47% of people living in America had never heard of ChatGPT, which is massive. You know, we live, but maybe it's just that I live in this world and I think everybody knows about it. But so yes, I agree. That's actually what my book is about. I want the book to be something that people pick up at an airplane, at an airport, and actually learn something about AI. But I think that governments should be taking on better information about AI, particularly for kids, because it's very dangerous for kids. And you know, in America, we have been suffering from governments choosing to ban certain books. If people are worried about books being seditious, then they should really worry about how our children use AI. And then, as I said, it's obvious that in the workplace, if you're going to ask people to use AI, you have to give them some training. Otherwise, they're just frightened that AI will take their job. And in some cases, they might be right.
Yes. We have here also, okay, we have more 5 minutes, okay, 10 minutes. We have here also Victor Tavares, that is a professor of economy. And of course, economy is also present in AI. Victor, do you want to make any comment or questions concerning AI and economy?
Yes, thank you. Are you listening?
Yes, please.
Yes. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, I would like just to ask Kay about this. Who is winning this AI race? between United States, Europe, and China?
Okay, a very good question.
Okay, so it's hard to tell because on what basis do you consider a win? If you consider that using AI and respecting people's human rights as you use AI and thinking about an equitable society and living in an equitable society, then I would say Europe's winning the race. If you think about living in a society where there is regulation between business and customers of artificial intelligence, but there is no regulation between the government and people, and therefore you use social credit scoring, then China's winning. If you consider winning to be where is the most massive amounts of artificial intelligence that might become AGI, and which is the country that's selling most AI, then that's the United States. But there are trade-offs. I don't think there's a winner in any of them. The winner, if you say which is the winner just by the advantage to GDP, well, I would say that's the United States, closely followed by China. But I don't believe that we should just see the use of AI as a monetary gain on the GDP.
We have also here Carlos Rivas that has been working in a very known German multinational, Bosch, and I think that he has also this view about AI in a big multinational. Carlos, do you want to make any comments, a question to Kay, please?
Yes, of course. So first of all,
Okay.
thank you very much, Kay. So that it was really interesting, your presentation, but I became more scared. And as you know, so with this AI looking to the future, I think we have no limits are defined. And even in Europe, we are far away from what we can see in China and the US. We are just, I say, we are a baby in terms of artificial intelligence by the moment. I don't know what will be the future in terms of safety, security of the people, because with the AI developing the AI developing AI algorithms, in terms of penetration in the banks, in our lives, in everywhere. So it will be something that will be crazy. I don't know how even then the army. So if someone can speed up the development and bring additional ideas to the topic, what will be the future?
Okay, very good question.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I wish I could answer it. I mean, one of the things that we are seeing is the Safety Institute, which is a sort of international gathering, and they'll be gathering again in Paris. It was started at Bletchley Park in November 23, I think. And then they had their summit in Korea, and now they're going to Paris. My concern about that, is that it needs a cooperative international order to survive, and it needs us all to think about safety in the same way. And I think that if you look at our international order, it is not cooperative at the moment and is in danger of becoming more and less cooperative. So I would love to be able to have an answer to your question. I don't have an answer to your question. I have a lot of pessimism about our ability to think about the safety of AI at any sort of level that will protect our ordinary human beings. And that's for two reasons. One is that we have been asking for banning lethal autonomous weapons in the same way that we banned landmines, for example, for years and years. And we have made no progress at all on that. So even lethal autonomous weapons killing people in wars, no progress. And I think the other thing that worries me, quite frankly, is that it's in AI, and whether we achieve artificial general intelligence appears to be in the hands of Elon Musk, Sam Altman, Satya Nadella, Sundar at Google, and maybe Mark Zuckerberg. That scares me. I think it should be in the hands of those governments that represent people. But there we go.
Okay, we are going to the
I have
final.
the same feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Filipe, please continue. Do you want to make any questions? Okay. You also are also keen on these topics. Yes, we are listening, Filipe.
Hello, Keith. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. It's really scary and thrilled at the same time of all the potential. I was going to ask, will AI be prepared to deal with the war conflicts with Putin, like with Russia and Ukraine? Will it be prepared in the short term to deal with those kind of conflicts and succeed on an agreement, on a peace agreement?
Okay, so one of the problems for AI, even the most advanced AI, is that all it's doing is that it's working out what the next word in a sentence is. So it's not intelligent. It's just working out. It's just really good at predicting what the next word is going to be. That might be true of ambassadors. I don't know, but if you're going to use AI in a tense social setting like that, you would want it to have some understanding of moral parameters. And I would say that you do if you're going to use it as a doctor, or if you're going to tell people that they're dying, or any of those things that I talked about at the end. And so what Sam Altman said he was going to be doing, and he has financed a professor in America, in an American university, and I can't remember the university, is that the professor is going to work out how to teach morality to ChatGPT. But at the moment, all you're using is a blunt instrument that's really good at predicting the next word. So I wouldn't advise that you use it.
But the digital version of, meaning clones, digital version of ourselves, it's already happening?
No, what's being paid for is teaching AI human morality, ChatGPT human morality.
Okay.
And we'll see how that goes, because there are lots of humans who are not so good at it.
Perfect. Is it okay, Filipe?
It is nearly okay.
Okay.
Can we go just a bit further? If we have a digital version, which I think it's already happening, I just saw something this morning in Dubai event. So meaning, if we have a digital version of Putin and a digital version of Dalai Lama, can we succeed on an agreement? Will this be possible?
It would depend how it was programmed. So, what you're talking about, I don't know whether you're talking about digital twin or a hologram.
Yes.
But whatever, it would depend upon how it was programmed. If you programmed the digital with how Putin thinks, then you're no closer to finding a solution if you put that digital in the same room as Zelensky.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay, and a final question. I don't know if Miguel Henrique, that is also someone that is involved in economics and AI and innovation. Miguel, do you want to make a final question to Kay? Miguel, you are not listening? Okay.
No. Okay.
Okay.
Can
Thank
you
you.
listen now?
Yes, we are
Can
listening
you
now.
listen to me?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes, go ahead.
I
No,
would
it's
just,
okay.
I would just ask, okay, thank you very much for what you have been lecturing to us, so relevant in this field. But as an entrepreneur, what I would like to ask you is, where should we entrepreneurs be looking at to make money out of AI at this stage? Where can we find the opportunities to have a go on it?
Okay, a very good question to end this conversation. Please, Kay.
It's a great question. And it actually follows up from Felipe's question because, one of the things that we tend to think is, well, AI can solve all of our problems that are thorny for us as human beings. And AI is always only going to be as good as the people who program it, or the people who have created it, or put in its moral code. So we have to be really careful in thinking that AI is going to be capable of doing amazing things for us. We have to look very carefully at how it's coded, and in order to make those judgments. In terms of where you're going to find most AI opportunities, I think if you're looking at, I would suggest that you look at the big industries in your country. So, healthcare is usually a big industry in somebody's country. So healthcare is a great place to use AI. There are a lot of doctors who need help, and they need help so that they can operate more efficiently, or they can talk to their patients or whatever. So there's a whole lot of backroom applications of AI that you could use in the healthcare system. And those are actually the same as that you might be using in a factory or any back office environment. You get into problems you get into more risky problems when you get into diagnosis and things like that. If I were you, I would, I mentioned the Swiss Re study. I would go and I would look at that, and I would then say, okay, so these are areas that Swiss Re think are going to be growth areas for AI, but also problematic areas. Where can I make money in that? The sort of things that I have looked at are law, because I'm a lawyer by background, social media, because I think that it definitely needs some change, and the environment. One of the problems of using AI in environmental work is that at the moment it is very, very expensive every time you use ChatGPT or similar for the environment, because of the energy costs, which certainly the big American companies are trying to solve through bringing online nuclear. And there's an issue potentially about that too. And then, of course, there's water cooling of data centers. And the fact that when you ask a question, it takes a quarter of a liter every time you ask a question. So my final point would be design things that are helpful to our future as human beings using
Thanks.
AI.
So,
Thanks
okay,
very
thank you
much.
very much. I think this was an
Thank you.
excellent presentation, like you have been in October. Maybe you can come to Portugal very briefly, and it will be a very good opportunity to you. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very good weekend to you, to all of you, and we are in touch. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jaime.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye bye.